Oh, that's the old photo. It is me. Thank you very much. So today we talked a lot about healthcare delivery, about EHR, so on and so forth. But there are still three very important questions that requires answer. First question, as a patient, how do I know if this new drug will work on my cancer? Given that less than 3% of the cancer patients in the US participate in clinical trial, how do I know it works, right? As the government that are funding all these clinical services, how do I know this new drug that's slightly more expensive as a second-line therapy should be used as first-line therapy because it's more effective? How do I know? How should I make this a first-line choice? And the third question is, as the hospital leader, how can I facilitate my top clinicians, research directors to participate in the sponsor research by working together with many other top institutions around the world? It's not easy, but we have to think about these. So what I want to talk to you today is about secondary use of the data. In this case, it's clinical research. This is how we generate evidence to answer all these questions. I want to start by right? It works, excellent. I want to start by sharing with you a report that was published in June this year from European Medicine Agency in June, before the Europeans go on holidays. They issue a very interesting report. So in the 12 months that ends this year in February, they reported that they conducted 59 studies using what they call it's a real-world evidence studies. This is using the real-world data. It's not standard clinical trial to generate evidence. Now, it's an increase about 48% from prior 12-month period. So it's really increased quite a bit. Now, about 46 out of the 59 were done using the Darwin network. I'll explain Darwin a little bit later. But what's impressive is that average length of stay is 4 months. It's very quick to generate evidence. This is how important it is. So what's Darwin? Darwin stands for not what we know about Darwin, and it is actually called a Data Analytics Real-World Interrogation Network. It's an effort that started by the European Medicine Agency in 2021 to really to gather all these evidence from all these countries, including 16 countries, 30-plus data sources, so they can collaborate together. It is using a OMOP common data model, just so that the evidence can be collected together. You don't have to worry about data standards and terminologies. It's all standardized. It's very easy to run queries. Now, OMOP is the most popular research data model. So this is just something very interesting. It was established in 2008 by FDA and the global pharma companies and top institutions around the world for safety monitoring. Since 2014, it became a system as a research model that's adopted by researchers around the world. In the US, it is primarily Columbia University. In Europe, it's Rotterdam. In Rotterdam is the Erasmus Medical Center. But it has grown into Asia as well. It's over 8,000 institutions around the world, and just very phenomenal, this data model. It's adopted by some of the logos here. You can see it is a European Health Data Evidence Network funded by the European Union. Earlier, I talked about Darwin. And also, you see there's a secure research data environment. That's for the entire UK. And earlier, Dr. Ferris actually mentioned this as well. In the middle, there are two icons. It is about N3C, which is a national COVID cohort collaborative that's set up in the US, and All of Us research program. The fairly large logo, European Health Data Space, was created by the European Union as also a way to share data, but also for secondary use of the data for clinical research. So these are some of the initiatives. Now, I want to use a clinical vignette to talk about why this is important, other than all these studies, so on and so forth. So many of the I think, folks in the audience probably know about Ozempic. This is one of those GLP-1 drug. It's Dr. Ferris also talked about. It's one of the glutide-like peptide and the receptor agonist. It does wonders. It really helped the diabetic patients and also used as a weight loss drug as well. Now, many years ago, there is a rodent study that shows some relationship between the GLP-1 and thyroid cancer. GLP-1, as you know, glucagon is a hormone. Thyroid is another endocrine that releases hormones. So people say, oh, maybe there are some relationships between these, between the drug and this organ. We should be careful, right? So FDA issued this contraindication, say GLP-1, you should not use patient with family history of thyroid cancer, basically. And the EMA does not issue any specific warnings on this medication use. Now, there's a French study because of the national OMOP data set that they have with many millions of patients. And in this case, they looked at 2,000 cases of thyroid cancers and 45,000 matched controls data sets. So this matched control data set is from the real-world data. The example here, just to show you that they were able to demonstrate in that study this hazard ratio. If it's above 1, which is also there's a confidence interval that's above 1, that means there's a strong causal relationship or relationship and a correlation. So this is fairly important. So what it does is that later on, there's an EMA signal, basically say you got to be careful, right? However, in 2023, there's also a Korean study that used the data set from Korea. Now we are thinking about, okay, there was the French study focusing on French population, but how does the evidence show in the Korean population? So in this case, the Korean study shows there's no increased risk. The hazard ratio is actually around 1. So what this resulted in is that EMA later on issued a statement. Basically, there's no causal relationship between GLP-1 and a thyroid cancer. This is why the real-world data is very powerful. And of course, you can draw different conclusions based on the data set that you have. Just also be careful around that as well. But when you think about a specific population, we're in Asia, Southeast Asia, to be more specific, can we use just one of the evidence coming from another country, another population? We might want to think about it differently, right? We might want to look at the evidence coming really generated by the healthcare institutions in this region that's specific for this population. So this is very important. Now, many countries and regions are doing this already. Valo is a Nordic country. Those 5 countries listed here: Norway, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, and Iceland. They got together, started last year, did a study to demonstrate the data can be used to support cancer-related drug efficacy studies, and specifically for these 5 countries. They were able to use OMOP data to show that was this particular treatment, was it actually effective? Are they used? And this is one example. And earlier this year, they showed the results. Now, there's also earlier, Dr. Ferris talked about in the UK, Health Data Research UK built out a national research network. They established basically multiple secure data environment in 12 regions where a user can use the NHS service to query all these secure data environments, to run a cohort discovery and to see what are the sites that have the patient that they want to do research on. So what is OMOP? OMOP is just a relational table. It's a common data model. But what's exciting is that it has an ecosystem of many researchers that have developed tools that works on it. Now, what's important is that there is a standard vocabulary in the middle, which means that the data goes in needs to use the standard codes. That made it very difficult, actually, just because there's a terminology requirement that needs to go in. A survey last year by the Odyssey user, which is the community, they said data quality in ETL is difficult, data transformation. Many of them, they have different flavor EHR, but to convert to the OMOP data, it is not that easy. They want to be able to share ETL. They want something that can ensure data quality. They don't want a manual effort. It is something that's doable. You can write software, but it is manual. It is not performing well. It is not meeting their requirements. So I pay a lot of attention to people's complaint. I'm getting so used to it. I say, maybe this is something that we should build a product. So this is the reason behind our InterSystem product, so InterSystem OMOP solution. So what we have built together is automated transformation. I saw many the presentations talk about transformation. This is interoperability at its best. It's a fully automated ETL. It does out-of-the-box mapping. There's no coding required, and there's a built-in data analytics, and there's a patient-level refresh, and it's also cloud deployed. Now, also very important is that we want the research data to store in IRIS database because there's a lot of tools out there. We don't need to reinvent those tools. Already available. Researchers are familiar with it. They just need the data stored in IRIS. They can take advantage of all the capabilities provided by IRIS. Earlier, you talked about all these amazing things, right, around the vector stores, columnar stores, all the scalability, performance that we do. So the researchers can benefit from it. The transformation service is very simple. We take the FHIR data as input. We deploy this as a cloud-managed services. We convert the data into OMOP, and we store the OMOP data on IRIS database. Researchers can use R, can use Python, can use the Odyssey open source research tools. They can also send the data into external OMOP repositories. So it's very much easy to use, very easy to use. So it's a cloud deployment. It is cloud, trust me, even though it's on the screen here. So you go there, you say, I want to create a new deployment. And you basically, it will just get created, and you can decide how you can use it. Now, to do this, it's all through configuration. You do not have to develop your own software, learn coding, and make it super easy for a non-technical person to use it. And we pay a lot of attention to data quality, how to catch error before it goes into OMOP repository, which is a major pain point. We want to catch it before it goes in there. So we provide all these user interface on the cloud service portal where you can review those errors. Guess what? We're doing AI as well. So here's an example we are working on. We already have a prototype. We actually will show that at the OMOP user conference later on in the US in October, the annual conference. This is an example of generative AI by looking at all the transformation errors and data quality issues and describe to you what are the errors and who are the patients and how to fix it. So this becomes very useful. You're not just staring at a long list of reports. Now you can actually ask the questions. Another very important thing is to get the concepts from the free text reports. This is a major pain point. A lot of information, because OMOP is de-identified, people do not share notes because it's hard to de-identify. So we're using GenAI to extract these concepts. I'm using it in Japanese text as an example, because we have a sales engineer, Tomoko, maybe she's not here, but actually used some of the early version of the prototype to feed Japanese text and use all the available, basically, capabilities with the large language model to extract the FHIR concepts from these texts. So this becomes very powerful. Think about it. You have the text report. Now you feed through our pipeline all the key FHIR concepts are extracted. We also focus on oncology. That's where a lot of the clinical research money is. And in this case, we're using in the FHIR model, FHIR profile is called the M-code, the minimal clinical oncology data element. So we're helping you to prepare for the future when M-code becomes a global standard. There's already lots of adoption, lots of standards in place. We want to do this so that when you're ready to do it, the technology is already there. I hope I demonstrate to you that, yes, we do a lot of EHR work. Yes, we want to make it easy for clinicians to use EHR. Yes, we want to make sure that you get the value out of it. But I don't want to underestimate, really, you also need clinical knowledge in the real-world evidence development. And this is a secondary use of the data. In this case, yes, there is a great model, that data model that's out there called OMOP, and we can help solve the problem around the secondary use of the data by transforming the data from EHR using FHIR standards, again, to OMOP. And all this is very much of what many of the organizations around the world are looking for, including European Health Data Space, Darwin efforts, and the FDA's, and the Odyssey research community, the CMS, which is the health insurer for the US, from the US government. All of them are looking for OMOP. And we have a solution that can help you with the transformation, make it easy, ensure high data quality. And this is just one of the beauty of InterSystems Iris technology. I hope you have the takeaway that we should pay attention to secondary use of the data, and thank you again for your attention.